can expect no mercy from society. I'm a bandito and I'm looked at like a criminal. So I expect no mercy from anybody else.
Like any other day, June 4th, 1997, started as a normal day, but that fantasy is about to be shattered, plunging it into chaos straight out of a crime movie scene. 3 banditos were sleeping on their beds in a club at the headquarters of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. Meanwhile, an individual drove a van into the entranceway of the Bandidos Drammen before lighting the bomb. He then used a bicycle that was attached to the van to flee the scene. Inside the vehicle was an explosive device weighing over 100 pounds. This individual was a member of the Screwdrivers Motorcycle Club. It conflicted with Bandidos Motorcycle Club for control of the entire Scandinavian drug dealing and for control of criminal rackets. At 11:45 p.m., a bomb exploded outside the headquarters of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. The blast blew off all of Bandidos' clothes, but remarkably all 3 were uninjured and managed to crawl through the wreckage completely naked. While the Bandidos were unharmed, 22 civilians were injured. A 51-year-old woman and her husband were driving home after eating at a restaurant. As they passed the van, it exploded, instantly killing Astrid and seriously injuring her husband. The explosion was so strong that the building completely collapsed, and a total of 22 people were transported to the hospital. Berg later told police during a police interview that he was given the assignment by Hells Angels president Torkjell Alsaker.
"We are determined to destroy all rival motorcycle clubs."
The attack happened towards the end of the Nordic Biker War. After the attack, 500 civilians sought protection from the police. These civilians wanted stricter measures against the Hells Angels and Screwdrivers Motorcycle Club, who were responsible for the attack. These groups benefited the most from it. The Bandidos and Hells Angels were fighting over criminal rackets in Scandinavia and Finland. 9 people died before the bombing. The Bandidos had moved their headquarters to Drammen from Oslo the previous year. Screwdrivers Motorcycle Club were promised full membership in the Hells Angels after bombing the headquarters of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. Police suspect that the intended target of the blast was Hells Angel turned Bandido Michael Garcia Lerche Olsen. Olsen used to lead the Copenhagen Hells Angels, but he got kicked out and joined the Bandidos in Helsingborg. Olsen and 2 others fled the burning clubhouse at once after the explosion. Prime Minister of Norway Thorbjørn Jagland and Justice Minister Gerd Liv Valle attended the scene of the bombing the following day. Jagland vowed to propose legislation banning motorcycle gangs from setting up clubhouses in populated areas. But why was this war being fought? Well, to answer this, we will have to go back to 1994, when a motorbike club from Helsingborg joined the Bandidos chapter on 22nd of January. Hells Angels saw the expansion of Bandidos and wanted to put an end to it. They ordered the rebels to shoot up the morbid clubhouse. On 26 January 1994, Malmö Hells Angels chapter president Thomas Müller personally fired a high-caliber submachine gun from the roof of a van. In both incidents, the only injury was a bandit who lost a finger. In early 1994, the Bandidos and Hells Angels motorcycle gangs had a territorial dispute in southern Sweden. This conflict later spread to other parts of Scandinavia and Finland. A contributory cause to the tension between the gangs in Denmark was an incident which occurred on 26 December 1995, when between 7 and 10 Bandidos members assaulted and severely beat 2 Hells Angels members at a restaurant in Copenhagen. On March 9, 1996, Danish members of the Bandidos and Hells Angels visited Helsinki, Finland. The Bandidos were opening a new clubhouse, and the Hells Angels were attending a tattoo convention. By coincidence, the 2 groups of rival bikers were booked on the same flight returning to Copenhagen. The 2 groups met at Helsinki Airport. Police tapes show the 4 Hells Angels called their Copenhagen clubhouse. They asked for a support team to meet them in Denmark. Knowing the Bandidos would be unarmed after going through airport security, 2 Hells Angels gunmen got out of their vehicles and shot at a car. They fired at least 33 shots from automatic weapons. The car was carrying 4 Bandidos members. Then the gunmen ran away. Uffe Lindenskov Larsen, president of the Bandidos South Side chapter, was killed after being shot 7 times in the head, chest, and legs. The other 3 men were seriously wounded. The surviving Bandidos fled to the arrivals lounge where they collapsed from blood loss. The killing of Uffe Larsson marked the commencement of the bloodiest phase of the Nordic Biker War. This tragic incident occurred 2 years into the ongoing conflict. Now that we know when the war started, let's go back to the crime scene. The public's backlash and increased police attention caused the war to end. The Bandidos and Hells Angels agreed to a truce in September 1997, and the entire amount of damages was $26 million. In 1997, the ongoing war between the Bandidos and the Hells Angels in Scandinavia had taken a toll on both sides. Widespread condemnation from society and the looming threat of a government crackdown had left them terrified. The bikers on both sides were tired of fighting for 3 years. Fighting only causes money problems. The escalating cost of the war became clear as police wiretaps revealed bikers complaining about how it had drained their finances. A lot of the bikers were older and had families. They didn't want to keep fighting. They were afraid of violence and the police crackdown. They wanted a quick solution. The road to peace negotiations began with the police supplying security for these meetings and even easing transportation for members of both groups. On September 25, 1997, a significant turning point occurred. Bent Blondie Nielsen and Big Jim, who led the Bandidos and Hells Angels, met and shook hands on live TV. They then jointly held a press conference broadcast throughout Scandinavia, officially declaring the end of the war. The war that had been ongoing since 1994 finally came to an end in 1997, nearly 3 years after it had started. The war led to the deaths of 9 gang members. There were also 74 attempted murders through shootings and bombings. The bikers used military-level weapons during their gang war, and assassination attempts were even made inside prisons. The majority of the hostilities took place in or around Copenhagen in Denmark. The biker war was also costly for the police, who struggled to put an end to the murders. In overtime for police officers alone, the cost was set at around $4 to $6 million. Throughout the conflict, there were casualties on both sides. 6 Banditos were killed and 34 were wounded, while 3 Hells Angels lost their lives, with 40 wounded. Tragically, 2 innocent civilians also lost their lives, and 22 others were wounded. The police documented at least 74 attempted murders during this period. The peace treaty between the 2 gangs had significant implications. Scandinavia was divided into territories for each group. Even bars and nightclubs had given specific ownership. With the war behind them, they stayed out of each other's way.